Okay, so 7.0. Um, there's so many things. It's gonna take forever. I'm gonna try to do it like as quick as I can. I want to skip over like the first three like bars here, but I think it's important. It's pretty key shit. I'm just gonna try to go over it as quick as I can. So new hero Wukong Monkey King, obviously. Melee carry escape disabler. His spells are pretty cool. First of all, you have boundless strike, which is basically like a fissure without the rocks. It stuns enemies in line, dealing critical strike based on his attack. So just like a big rod, you know. Second thing, tree dance is really cool. You're up in the trees. I'm guessing that like you have flying vision, and I'm guessing you're counted as a flying unit. I feel like other people won't be able to see you unless they have flying vision. That's yet to be tested for me. And then you can jump down and primal spring onto them. So yeah, he like jumps down and then like does some shit, like slows them. You know, you have Jingu Mastery, which basically when you click it, it like you'll like see like when you have successive hits, you actually build up charges and then you can activate it to get bonus damage and lifesteal. Mischief is a really cool ability. You can like depending on where you are. I think the developers did a really good job changing you into different items. For example, like what he was standing at the rune spot, he became a rune, right? So he becomes a tree. You know, just some really cool shit. Wukong's command. I noticed that it looks like it creates 6 different illusions, and they stable, like they don't move at all. But the range seems pretty good. Like as you can see, the Centaur Warrunner here is walking right into the middle, and the two monkeys on the side both hit it with melee range. So there's no way to escape the circle without being hit. Just super cool stuff. Some like areas like zoning kind of stuff. I don't know how much actually damage it'll do, but the key is to like you don't want to be in that circle, and the best like you is area control, right? The comics are really cool, and yeah, I think that's all I'm going to talk about Wukong. Second of all, oh hey Patrick Button. Second of all, we have the new HUD, the heads-up display, and just some changes. It's going to make it a little bit nicer, easier to work with. As you can see, they opened up like the spaces down here so that it's not just a huge bar at the bottom. The shop is kind of reworked, and it'll give you easier access to the community builds and stuff like that. So instead of having to click the community builds up here, it's going to be just right from the shop, which I really do like. Settings in game, you don't have to like leave. Just a basic revamp that I think it's been like the old style for quite a while now, so I think it's a good thing. Like custom hero interfaces, for example, Morphling here, you can see the change from agi to strength. It's like the bars here, everything, adding mana cost and items. A lot of stuff that community have been asking for. I'm guessing they haven't released because like if they're working on a revamp, might as well throw it into the revamp, right? So I really like that, like buyback, you don't have to like drag over it. You can just hold alt and it'll show up. So you don't have to like mouse over the thing for 2 seconds. It takes a lot of time. And also the courier, I really like the change where I think they give you many more options for accessing the courier. Thanks, Patrick Bun. So you can, instead of always saying like, oh, recour, you can actually send it back to the person who had the courier before. So I think that's a really good change. Enough about the HUD. The new pregame, I think, is also really good for strategy. I don't know how well it'll work in pubs, but definitely when you're playing with a stack, I think it'll be really helpful because right now I really like the idea that they added this thing called team composition, as you can see here. So it can give you an idea of like what you're missing. Like you'll see, oh, we have a lot of carries. Maybe we need a support, and that'll be something that doesn't need to be communicated necessarily anymore because you will see it in this team comp thing. So again, everything is there. I never really liked the idea that when you show the heroes, it's just this like card view, right? Like you only see one hero at a time. And then when you click the grid view, it's like a separate grid. So I really like that this is the same as the other hero screen now, like when you're looking through your items and stuff like that. So just having that, similarity, correlation, I guess, is really good. Hero suggestions definitely like, yo, I think you should go Viper. I think you should try Monkey King here. It just makes it easier to alt click a portrait and have your teammates know that. So before you start your game, you can like figure out what starting items you want to do, where you think the enemy is going to be, and you can choose your lane. So, well, choosing your lane is already there, but figuring out where you think the enemy is going to be, I think is going to be really good. Yeah, so definitely like 30 seconds for a strategy, and buying beginning items reduces the stress of starting the game. You're like, oh my god, like, and forgetting to buy items and stuff like that. I know that's definitely happened to Patrick a few times, and hopefully that'll like give newer players a bit more time and older players a little time to strategize. Yeah, enhanced map strategy, purchase items, really good shit. Let's get into the new gameplay updates. As you can see from this video, it's a really cool video. Roshan has moved, so definitely the map has changed quite a lot. They haven't really listed out exactly what's changed with the map, because it's like a completely new map, and it's just going to be, it's not even like changes, right? But there are a few key things that are worth bringing up. So let's get into that in a bit when we get to map changes. But right now I want to get into the hero talent tree, which is pretty much like everyone's like, oh, we HOTS now, right? Which I kind of saw right away too, because this whole hero talent tree thing is one of the main factors that makes Heroes of the Storm different. So basically how it works, I'm just going to get into like one of these examples here. So basically how it works, when you hit level 10, 15, 20, or 25, you get to choose one of the two things to upgrade. And so for example here, it's plus 15 damage, plus 8 intelligence, right? But as you level up, they get better and better. And I actually really like the level 25 things, because they actually sometimes completely change your spells, completely change how your ult works. And even the buffs are pretty OP, right? Like plus 20% Vampiric Aura Lifesteal. That's like a whole other item, right? Mask of Madness, I think it's 20%. I think they actually changed it to 15%. But no reincarnation mana cost. Just think about, usually the counter to a Wraith King would be like illusion, anti-mage, mana leak, right? Mana break. So if that's the issue you're having, see, like mana break, you got your level 25 Wraith King feeling down, then you can change it to no reincarnation mana cost, and your Wraith King will be relevant again. But if that's not an issue, 20% Vampiric Aura Lifesteal is also really good. So just giving you options to counter different heroes that are outside of itemization, I think is a really good potential for the game, and it'll completely change the game up. Jakiro, okay, yeah, so like these are some highlights that they kind of chose to demonstrate how this all works, right? Plus 200 Crystal Nova damage. So these are some of the more drastic changes. Later on, we'll get into every single hero, which I've read through, and some of them are more noteworthy than others. I'll try to summarize it down for everyone. So, but some overall general changes though, right? Additional hero level changes, ultimate levels. So now, instead of 6, was it 11 and 16? I believe. Yeah. They're now 6, 12, and 18. But the thing is that it says it here, yeah. So the thing is that the XP required to get there is the same. So you actually reach level 25 in the same time that you would have reached level 23, which makes the game a little bit more fast-paced, because, well, even though you get your ultimates around the same time, you actually reach level 25 faster. And the thing is, because with these changes, reaching level 25 actually makes a big impact on the game. So by the time you would have reached level 23, you have this like crazy like new ultimate basically. So I think it's part of the Ice Frog. It's been like many patches here. I think it's been happening for like the past 2 years now, where Ice Frog has wanted to speed up the game a little bit. And I think definitely with the 25 changes, I think it'll minimize like 70-minute, 80-minute games, or like even 3-hour games. They want to have it so that XP gain is very important, and like the sooner you reach higher levels, you can unlock better things for your hero. So I think that's a really good change to make the games a little bit faster and more diverse, right? Because of the different talents. Respawn timetable, like some of them just didn't really make sense before. Like if you take a look at the table here, between like there's a lot of like decimal spots and just like really weird stuff. I think the XP table is like even weirder if you look right above my head right now. So like you can see the total amount of XP required. Your camera is out of focus. Oh, never mind. Sweet. So as you can see from like level 8 to 13, so they go 1,000, the differences, right? 1,000, 600, 220, like 200, 2,200, 800, and then 1,400, and then from there on it increments by 100. It's just like a lot of like really whack stuff that I don't know is really legacy. They just kind of fix that, which I do like. Like moving forward, we shouldn't follow some like weird Dota, like Warcraft 3 Dota Ice Frog shit, right? Gold bounty changed, but I think one of the biggest things is the death cost rework. So instead of hero level, so say like your hero could be like a pretty high level, but like no net worth, or you could be really low level but like really high net worth. Unlikely, but still, net worth seems like a more important factor, or like what's the metric to look at of whether or not you're ahead, right? So having the death cost reworked to be to use net worth as the variable, I think it's a good change. It does balance the game a little bit, and also AOE gold. I think that's AOE gold kind of got minimized. It kind of they made it bigger. Was it like I think just last year, but I think they kind of nerfed that, so that's good. Maybe it might bring back a little bit of like a big carry meta. I'm not sure how it'll work out though. Heroes now have backpacks. So as you can see from this video here, this makes a big difference because sometimes when you're buying shop stuff, you have to drop a bunch of items and then like make your bloodstone and then pick your items back up. So now you have 3 slots to hold your items. But the thing is, you don't have to worry about swapping in and out items because it does have a bit of a cooldown. So backpack mechanics here. Cannot put the following gem, rapier, bloodstone, or aegis into the backpack. There's also a timer, 6 seconds when moved from that backpack. So you can't like in the middle of a fight, suddenly move some like Daedalus and then move it back, right? So you have 6 seconds, which is quite a bit of time if you're already in a fight. And when stuff is in your backpack, the passive and bonuses don't count, cannot be activated or anything. It's basically like a little stash. You can move it right away though, when it's so like they'll have a cooldown on whether or not you can move stuff into your backpack. When you're at the shop, you can move it right away though. So I think that's a really good change. Mostly, I don't think it'll be used competitively. I think just mostly for when you're combining stuff for recipes. It was kind of annoying before having to drop items. I think that's a really good change. Map changes, they're pretty huge. They added a new ancient neutral type. Okay, so I think biggest thing, Roshan got moved basically where top rune is, and it's right in the middle. So now it's not like, oh, Direk always gets advantage of ancient or whatever like that. It's kind of hard when it's on one side of the map, right? Definitely you have a bit more vision of it. It's easier to get there without being spotted, etc. Being easier to counter it. So having it move to the middle makes it a bit more just balanced. They added these new buildings called shrines, which are basically like healing fountains, kind of like moonwells in Warcraft 3 if you're familiar. So when you click on them, you'll start healing, which is also in Heroes of the Storm. Actually, they have basically like these healing fountains. You click them and then they replenish, right? They have a cooldown, and they're all over the map now. So there are shrines near each team's secret shop and new ancient camp locations. So I have a bit of a map here that I can show you guys. So from this, you can see that there's, let's see here. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. So this is the new Roshan spot. So this is a screenshot from another person playing the game. I just kind of blew it up. New Roshan spot. So they did change the runes. So these are called power-up runes now, which is everything other than the bounty rune. And then in your own jungles, so this is the primary jungle, well, for Dire, this is the primary jungle and this is the secondary jungle, there will be 2 bounty runes. So these actually both spawn, I believe. I'm gonna have to double check. Let's see, runes. Bottle. So bottle only charges 2, and because there's double of them, I believe. Each of the 4 jungles now spawns a bounty rune every 2 minutes. So they will all spawn, and they will spawn on 000. Yeah, including start of the game. But the power runes don't spawn at 000 anymore. So there's no more of that. Like, I guess it's kind of a stale meta where in the beginning of the game everyone goes into the river. But now I think there's a little bit more competitiveness. It's like, oh, maybe you can save. Like, they did nerf Alk, Reworks Greed Bounty, but maybe you can try to protect both bounty runes so that maybe the Alk can get both bounty runes from your jungle, or maybe like you want to go into their jungle to deny them of one bounty rune, of both bounty runes, just changes it up, right? Because you have 4 bounty runes that spawn in the beginning of the game versus the 2 which are right in the middle of the map. So it depends if you want to play defensive, offensively, get some early first bloods, stuff like that, and you won't be in the river anymore, which I think is a very welcoming change. So basically, there's going to be like a new ancient here. So like this is like where the old ancient is. There's going to be one in the primary jungle as well, and that's where the wells will be. There's also going to be 5 wells inside of your base. So I believe these are the wells: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that when you're defending base, you can actually basically heal up right on high ground here instead of having to go back to fountain, which I think will make defending a lot easier, but kind of opens up more potential for comeback mechanics. So yeah, that's shrine. One more thing is that you can only destroy the shrine after all the T2 towers have fallen. So I think sometimes, like I always say, right, like after you take T1, I kind of feel lost, like where am I supposed to, like what's the objective now, right? I think, and sometimes people will just push lanes, and there's a lot of games where the T2 tower of, say, like bot or something isn't taken, right? So I think it adds a new objective, right? Oh, because you can TP to these shrines, right? So like let's take all the T2s so that we can destroy the shrine, by their ancient camp. So I think just adding more objectives to the game, I think, is a good thing. Jungle definitely like reworked. Primary jungle now is 1 ancient, so they added ancient camp. Everything else is the same: 2 hard, 2 medium, 1 small, but they added an ancient camp to the primary jungle. Then the secondary jungle, 1 ancient, 1 hard, 1 medium. So they added the medium camp because previously it was just 1 ancient, 1 hard. Terrain layout, just a lot of like tree changes, right? Like there's way too much. Neutrals, they added a new, I think the biggest thing is they added a new ancient. I'm going to skip over that other part. So this guy does a stack. This is actually pretty powerful, provides 10% lifesteal and 10 HP regen, 10 armor. And yeah, I noticed actually quite a lot of, so for example, this has 0 AoE, deal 200 damage. So I noticed a lot of stuff dealing with armor. One biggest thing is actually Roshan, which I'll touch up on in a bit, but a lot of stuff is starting to prioritize like armor mechanics over HP mechanics. I mean, it's already happened, but adding a little bit more emphasis into that. One kind of big change is that using TP scrolls no longer destroys nearby trees. So they rework the trees so that you'll never get stuck, which I think is really good because a lot of time you'll TP there and then you kind of destroy the trees and your whole like hidden factor is broken, right? Or whatever you call it. Like people know you TP'd. So I think this will be really good for rotations and like surprise factor. Oh, also the tower's damages are rescaled, so I didn't even realize that they do different damage actually, but the average damage is the same, but they just kind of tighten that gap there. Illusions. So everyone at the Boston Majors was asking for illusion changes. So right now, illusions will give gold and XP bounties. So I was saying, all you have to do is exam mana style, and then you just keep sending illusions at the base, right? So now that'll not necessarily be a good plan, even though they don't give like very much gold, not like crazy amounts, but like there is a penalty for it, right? General changes, root mechanics. Root now disables so a bunch of these things that let people kind of move even while you're in root. So root is stronger now, right? That's why this thing is about you can see Trent Protector here doing his ultimate and rooting all these guys, right? So it's good to see different mechanics get buffed, I think, that are not necessarily like very strong right now. Dispel mechanics. Now your tooltip will say the dispel, like whether or not it's a strong dispel, regular dispel, etc., etc. Yeah, basic or a strong dispel. It's good to have everything out instead of having to like check like wiki Dota or whatever, to have it in the game, right? Cleave mechanics, I didn't even know that this was how it works before, but usually it used to be a circle whose edge starts in front of the attacking unit. So it kind of works right now as you would think it would work, where it's in a cone shape from where you hit. So that kind of makes sense. Max movement speed increased again. They always do that. Turning goes faster. I'm just gonna skip through these because they're not super important. But I think the spell lifesteal is kind of cool because spell lifesteal does not trigger heal for things that don't receive spell amplification. So they changed that to Moonglaive and Cleave. So I guess people are buying Octarine cores and getting lifesteal from that. So they changed that. Okay, let's move on now though. I'm gonna try to find some of the more important things, like buffed Aether Lens a little bit. Also Caress, I think that see self attack speed reduced, but they increase the aura, so it still works pretty much the same. You lose 5 here, but you gain 5 here. But I think they want it to be more of a team item. Bloodstone. So one of the biggest changes is that here, Bottle, Clarity, Healing Salve, and Urn, both are only like negated if it's hit by player or Roshan. So right now the only item that kind of works like that out of all 4 of them are the Urn, but the Urn also affects when towers hit them. So they basically all work like an Urn now, except that towers don't even dispel it, which I think will make the laning phase a little bit better, because it creates a lot of passive situations, right, where you have to back up and then not get hit and use a salve. So now you can kind of keep farming creeps, keep farming jungle while you're healing from a salve instead of always having to, that's why you buy tangles, right? Because you can like eat a tree and then keep farming. But now you can use a salve instead. So it just adds a little bit more options, and I think Tango wouldn't always be the go-to if you're trying to like farm more efficiently now, because it just creates more of an active early game, I think. Moving on, Crimson Guard now affects buildings, which is really cool. I don't know, like how much of an effect that's gonna be, but yeah. Gems of Endurance now, I don't think it has an active anymore, but it provides a 20 movement speed aura. I'm gonna have some more wine. I love this tooltip. Enchanted Mangoes on sale for 110 gold, because it used to be 125, I believe. So now they're a little bit cheaper. This is a pretty strong buff. This is almost like, I don't know, however many percent, but Heart of Tarrasque definitely got a buff. So yeah, like even like Heaven's Halberd, right? So these are kind of like strength items. So maybe we're seeing a lot of like agi heroes, and maybe strength heroes aren't being strong enough. I don't know. Helm of the Dominator, something neat about it is that they took away the lifesteal. So the item has been reworked. So I think that usually you would get like a mask and then, like as a Luna or something, right? So I think they're trying to make Helm of the Dominator a little bit more of a support item, because if you think about it, like ancient stacking, creep stacking, those are usually like support things to do. But then if your carry buys the item and then has to stack camps, like, it takes away the farm. That's not what the carry should be spending time thinking about, and that should also be something that the support thinks about. So having it be from a headdress instead of like mask or whatever, I forgot what the item is called, but basically, yeah, headdress instead of lifesteal. I think headdress is generally like a support item to get, and it provides a lot of auras and stuff like that now. So I do like it. I do think it will become more of a support item, and no longer requires 75 mana. Like just change the way it works. So one thing is Iron Talon and Quelling Blade are no longer percentage based, but rather a flat bonus damage. So I always thought it was kind of weird that it was percentage based, because it's like as you level up, when do I drop this stupid Quelling Blade, right? Because like it gets stronger and stronger, and it helps you farm. So I do like that they kind of want to keep it as an early game item. Mask of Madness. So Roshan now it lost a bunch of HP but gained a bunch of armor. And Medallion of Courage no longer has half value against Roshan. So I do think they want to encourage more Medallion of Courage and whatever you can upgrade that into use. I'm trying to find it, but yeah, Solar Crest. Maybe Medallion and Solar Crest aren't seeing enough play. So having that armor effect be more important, I think is really cool. Meowner no longer attack modifier. They actually changed a bunch of stuff to take away a unique attack modifier, which is pretty cool. It kind of buffs the items. Necromonicon, blah, blah, blah. Core no longer provides 50% mana regeneration. Actually, they did that to another item too, and I thought it was really weird. Like, what is the purpose of taking away the mana regeneration? Do they think that in the late game, because these are kind of like later game items, right? Like, do they think that in the late game, mana issues aren't a thing? Like, players don't have to think about mana at all when you're like, say, like an int hero, because you have so much mana regeneration. So I'm just thinking maybe like they want people to always, just add that element in the game to not overgive mana and make it, just usually like in the late game, you're just like, whatever, right? I'm always at like over 50% mana because you have so many items. So maybe that's their plan. That's my guess. I talked about this already. Ward of Atos is a root now instead of a slow, and it's a projectile. So yeah. Satanic rework, but it's not like super huge, I think. This no longer provides 50% mana regeneration. So, but it's kind of weird because Voidstone does. So you just took away the mana regeneration once the Voidstone becomes a soul booster. Sorry, that's something different. I'm thinking of when you make a Bloodstone. But yeah, I guess this one reflects the items that you buy, but at the same time, it's like why are you trying to nerf mana regen? I don't know. This one is really cool. XP rescaled from 425 to change per tome of knowledge. So I guess later on in the game, right now, like late in the game, you don't really want to buy tome of knowledge because it's only 425. But say like I want my carry to come online faster, right? So maybe want him to like scale up, buy more, and then later on I could give it to like the lowest character or hero, and then they could level up a few levels. So that's really cool. And that's it for items. So hero changes is the biggest part of this patch. It took me a really long time to read, but I'm just going to touch on the most important thing. I was just wondering if you're all still with me, actually. It doesn't really matter, but just wondering, I don't see any comments, but I'm just gonna keep going. You guys can always watch the VOD. Some changes are Grievel's Greed. There used to be one every 2 minutes, right? So now there are 4 bounty runes every 2 minutes. So changing it from 6 times to 2 times, it's not as big of a deal if the alchemist is like looking for the bounty rune. I don't know. I think this is not as big of a nerf as I would think it was. Anti-mage scepter added. So this is basically like getting a what do you call that? Man, I forgot the item. The big red thing. Oh my gosh. Whatever. If someone can remind me what the item is called, that'd be great. But it basically adds that thing every 12 seconds though. That's crazy. And not auction card, guys. Can you guys help me out, man? Fuck. Okay, whatever. If you guys can think about it, I forgot what the item is called. I like usually know it too, but it basically gives you that item every 12 seconds. But you see, whatever. Lotus Orb, thank you, Chexican Drew. But usually Lotus Orb doesn't block, right? It only reflects. So for example, if a Spirit Breaker is charging you, you'll actually still get charged, and then you'll also charge towards him. If a Lich throws his ult on, you still get hit with the ult, but you also just throw another ult, right? So in this case, it actually blocks and reflects. So I think that's quite strong. Every 12 seconds is quite strong. That's pretty crazy. Arc Warden got a bunch of like changes, basically like, you know, some nerfs, some are kind of like buffs. But I think Tempest Double no longer consumables, whatever, you know, like I think the biggest nerfs happened already, so it's not like a huge deal. As you can see, most of these are the talent tree changes, which like I don't think guides, you know, you gotta play by ear for these things, right? They're really cool. Bounty Hunter, Shuriken Toss bounces twice on each hero, so it bounces once on everyone, then bounces through each again. That's pretty cool. Brewmaster, I think they're trying to make the remnants, not the remnants, the Brewlings a little bit more useful. So for example, Brewlings Demolish increased from 150 to 300, and Demolish is something that affects buildings. So maybe using Split to push towers, you know, for example. I think that's adding a little bit more versatility into the Brewmaster play. Drunken Haze got a little bit changed, you know. I'm just going to move on. I really like this because I played Bristleback. That Warpath stacks rescaled from 567 to 579. Cold Spray now deals damage as it quickly expands outwards. At 2400 speed though, that's very, very fast. So I do think that's more of a just having the spell match the animation kind of thing, and I don't think you'll be able to really run away from it at 2400. I think just for like animation purposes, having the creeps get hit in a spread, I think it'll look cooler. A Chaos Knight Scepter added. Reality Rift now provides armor debuff instead of doing. You see, like that's what I mean by it seems like they're doing a lot more armor stuff, right? No longer applies to armor debuff, but having Reality Rift do that instead, maybe I don't know, just different playstyle, right? Having it be more of a conscious decision, I think. Chaos Strike now lifesteals for 50%. 50% is a huge lifesteal, right, when it crits. So crit chance is also increased to 12%, so that's pretty cool. Added Scepter reduces cooldown by 20 seconds and allows Phantom to cast on an allied hero. 1200 cast range. So basically 20-second walking Mantis style, right? You can use... Yeah, you can just make Phantoms out of anyone. That's pretty cool. So I was kind of thinking like, you know, maybe... No, I don't know. Stupid. Never mind. I was thinking support Chaos Knight once you get the Scepter. But no, I think it's a good play. You know, just adds a bit more versatility to the hero. Crystal Maiden is really cool now. The Scepter makes it basically like Mei from Overwatch. Crystal Maiden. So it applies Frostbite to any unit that's been standing in freezing field for 2.5 seconds. So if you think about it, that's basically what Mei does, right? You create your field, which damages everyone, and when you're in there long enough, you freeze them. And yeah, if you're familiar with Mei from Overwatch, it's basically makes her exactly like Mei. I'm going to keep moving on to the cooler ones. Oh, this one's definitely like it's not bullet or anything, but Devour can target ancients. So the ancients have really cool abilities. So now Doom can get them at level 25. Pretty cool stuff. Elder Dragon Corrosive Breath affects splash targets. But one thing I don't really understand though is Dragon Tail now is a fast projectile while in dragon form. So I don't know, maybe that just might be an animation kind of thing. I don't know how fast this projectile is. I don't know if it'll be disjointed easier, but I mean, dragon form should be your more powerful form, so it'd be kind of stupid if they wanted it so that when you're in dragon form, you can disjoint the dragon tail. I think maybe it might be for an animation kind of thing. I don't know. I don't really, if it's fast enough, I don't really see it making a big difference. I thought this was pretty funny. Minus 2 seconds on enchant totem cooldown. I want to remind you that Earthshaker with the Ags upgrade has an enchant totem like jump, right? And that's already like a really quick cooldown blink. I forgot what the exact cooldown on it is, but just having it minus 2 seconds if you have an Ags, it's just like constantly jumping around, right? I find the Earthshaker with an Ags just really funny to watch play because he's just like jumping around on the map. Yeah, that's just me. Elder Titan, I don't think it's like that strong. I mean, in TI 6 it was I don't know. I think this is a nerf though. Natural order armor reduction is now centered around the hero. Magical reduction aura is centered around the spirit, and when their spirit is inside the hero, both auras are centered around your hero. So before that, both those auras were in both Elder Titan and the spirit, and the auras didn't stack. So having them, split that up is a nerf. Although people always said natural order is one of the most OP things in the game. So I don't know. It's not like I see Elder Titan like that much though. But yeah, definitely a bit of a nerf there, I think. Ember Spirit. Slate of Fist now places Ember in front of the target from the direction of his casting location rather than randomly around the hero. So that's actually kind of important because especially with the cleave changes, right? So now that cleave is in a cone, it's kind of, I was thinking like, so if you want to minimize cleave damage and Ember Spirit is using Sleight of Fist, you might want to all face outwards, right? No, sorry, you all want to face inwards. So then Ember Spirit will bounce like inside you guys, and then the cleave will like miss everyone, right? But if you all are trying to spread and face outwards, then the cleaves will hit everyone, right? That's if you're super clumped up. So I guess when in doubt and everyone's clump up even more against Ember Spirit, because that way you'll mitigate the cleave damage. I don't know if anyone will like remember that while you're playing, and I don't know how effective that'll be, but I think this is also how Juggernaut works. So I think just making Sleight of Fist a little bit more like the Omni Slash, right? They also place the Juggernaut in front of the unit. Although this does stay from the direction of his casting location. Actually, I just realized that. In front of his target from the direction of his casting location. So it's actually the spot in front of the target from the direction of his casting location. So do you think if you cast it like at point A and they're at point B, would it be like away from point B, like farther away from point A and point B, or is it between point A and B? If someone from chat has an idea of how to interpret this, Set of Fist now places Ember Spirit in front of a target rather than randomly around the hero. I would say in front of the target would be assuming from the direction of his casting location would be between the target and Ember Spirit, right? In front of the target, assuming the target. I thought it was in front of the target as in the direction that he's facing, right? But adding this from the direction of his casting location, so I don't know. But yeah, that's what I thought the whole time. So if anyone from chat can enlighten it, that'd be cool. But otherwise, we'll have to wait and see and try out the new change. This is kind of just I think a lot of these are kind of like visual changes that just make things a little cooler. Black Hole now slowly rotates enemy units as it pulls them into the center. Oh, hey, and thanks for joining, Crescent Ace. Glad to have some new viewers on my stream. I don't stream that much, but I do patch notes every time a new patch comes out. I think this is definitely a visual change, though. Black Hole now slowly rotates enemy units as it pulls them to the center. Now that Enigma has a new unit model, which I'll show you guys in a little bit. Next important update, definitely Invoker. So the biggest thing that I saw after reading this was that Quas Exhort Invoker got nerfed because Forged Spirits no longer spawn multiple when Quas Exhort are level 4. Although they did add that into level 15 thing. But, having to choose that as your talent tree, like Quas Exhort, that's the strong part because you want to cold snap the enemy hero and then spawn 2 Forged Spirits so to trigger the cold snaps, right? So you can still go that route, but you have to choose a talent tree thing. So you have to forego the 20% XP gain to do that. I do think they did buff it though, because Invoke no longer is an upgradable ability, and from 22, 17, 12, 5 to 6. So it encourages earlier use of more spells because I always thought, 22 seconds, like that's not really enough to use multiple spells in a fight, or even like anywhere close to like even laning, right? Like max you can use is 3, and then you're stuck with those last 2 like forever. So they increased mana cost a little bit, but just being able to swap spells more actively, like 6 seconds is pretty much 5, right? Which is like your max level invoke. So I do think that is a buff to Invoker, but because of that buff, they had to nerf a few of his abilities, which I'm all for, because Invoker's strength is in his versatility and not in like, oh, like Tornado is OP kind of thing, right? So I'd rather them nerf things and have Invoker players, be more versatile, and that's where you gain your strength, right? Okay. Next thing is, these are kind of like pretty basic, I think. Oh, 200 plus 200 Tornado, I thought was pretty funny because it's massive. Overwhelming odds got buffed, so Legion Commander definitely got a little bit buffed. 120 per hero, right? It's pretty cool. 40 dual bonus damage though. I feel like at a certain point that's not that big of a deal. Let's see here. Frost armor can now target invulnerable structures. So I guess if you're glyphed, you can frost armor the glyph tower now. But to be honest, I didn't even realize that frost armor could target towers. I always just use them on heroes. So I mean, that's something new. You always learn something new when you play Dota, There's so many things. Finger Death got buffed. Something changes. This is pretty cool because at level 15 you have plus 40 Lucent Beam damage. So that actually also buffs your ult, right? So I think overall, like, all these heroes just got a lot stronger. Light King got reworked. So most of it is Howl. So Howl now behaves like a normal buff. It provides max HP increase. It just a bunch of stuff. But I think more important, probably, like these are kind of, I don't know if you'll really notice them. Like you don't really pay attention to them usually, right? But Summon Wolves. So they gain invisibility at level 4 instead of 3, and they gain cripple at level 3. So a bit of a change, maybe like they were getting invisible wolves a little too quick before people can get a lot of detection. Maybe I'm not sure, but level 25 you can get 2 more wolves summoned, so that's pretty cool. This is a pretty big buff to Meeple. I think Meeple clones now can share full attributes without Scepter, because before you get your Aghanim Scepter, Meeple clones are really easy to kill, right? So Meeple right now is sitting at like a 30% win rate, and he's been at 30% win rate for basically ever. I think it's scary to buff Meepo though, because if a good player plays Meepo, it can be just devastating, right? But having said that though, I think full attributes without Scepter is a really big buff to Meepo. Like that makes all your clones the same as your main Meepo, right? So good shit. Next big change. I think this is like this is kind of weird because at max damage your Scepter Wrath of Nature actually does more, or like does like almost the same amount of damage. The base damage is reduced though. So I think they want to make it ramp more. See, increment per bounce is ramped more, but they don't want it to hit heroes. So I think that they want you to be able to target single units more. So like if you have your Nature's Prophet target a creep wave on bottom and your heroes are top, then when it gets to those heroes, it does a lot of damage, right? But I think they want to use it more like that. And because with Scepter, Wrath of Nature creates a treant in every killed creep, right? So I think the problem was maybe that they think Nature's Prophet was creating too many treants. So they don't want so many creeps to die, but they still want you to be able to use your kind of like, target bottom to get top kind of mentality and have that be a little more effective. So I think that's what they're going for with that. Necrophos definitely got changed. So they replaced Sadist, but Sadist is basically put into Death Pulse now. So, but Death Pulse now passively provides. I read it up. This was exactly the same as Sadist. So they actually just gave Necrophos an extra ability, which is Ghost Shroud. It turns you ethereal for 3.54, 4.5 seconds, and grants you a 600 AoE slow aura. While in this form, you take 20% more magic damage, but you reduce enemy movement speeds. You know, and healing you get is amplified by 50%. So I think you just kind of run in there, you Ghost Shroud, everyone's like super slow, and then you know, they can target you with magic damage, but you know, you throw your Death Pulses and everything, you get healed. I think it's all fine. But any HP you heal though. So the whole Sadist thing, you know, I think Necrophos is he's really tanky because of his healing. So to have that amplified by 50%, I think is a big deal. You can still get like nuked down really quick, but you know, sustained fighting is still very good. I think it's a buff for Necrophos. Definitely, they gave him an extra ability. Why not, right? Omni Knight definitely got nerfed. It's very sad because I play Omni Knight. Repel spell immunity behaves like Blacking Barb, but the durations got decreased, the cooldowns got increased. I like that you can't cast on enemies. Purification, you know, is not as strong as before, a little bit. Just mana cost reduced, which I do like because early levels you basically can't purify things. But yeah, like I'm sad about the Omni Knight changes. Let's find the next thing. Phantom Lancer, Scepter added. Phantom Rush now provides 6, 12, 18, 24 agility when you reach the enemy, lasts 2 seconds. So yeah, like it'll rush, and then when it hits, you get more agility, which means more damage because he's an agi hero. I think that's good shit. You know, more attack speed, just stronger. It's definitely a buff. Even though this is decreased, but like, you know, it's not a big deal, I think. And I think this is really cool. Causes Spirit Lance to bounce nearby enemies. Right? So I wonder if every bounce creates a new illusion. Since before it used to just hit, right? And an illusion is created at the hit. So I wonder if on bounce, like bounce cap 5, so 5 illusions on 5 different hits. I'm not sure. That's something that I'll have to test out a bit later. Next important thing. Let's see here. Ricky, Scepter added. So this is really cool. I really like this change. It's a huge buff. Scepter Ricky. So it increases the ultimate duration by 4 seconds, and it allows you to basically get into this is what they call a pocket Ricky. It's kind of like a meme. So you'll hide inside an allied hero, and your ultimate is increased by 4 seconds. So right now I think it's more to do with like a zoning ability. You'll kind of use it and people will just kind of run away from it, right? So I think it's hard to use effectively unless someone else has a stun, like an AoE stun, right? So right now I think you can enter, let's say, like a really tanky hero or a really fast hero like a Lycan or something, and then yeah, use your ult and have them just follow. It does quite a lot of damage because it's full backstabs. So I do really like this Scepter upgrade. I think it makes Ricky way more relevant. Sand King, oh, this is a big thing. Brutal Strike upgrade no longer applies caustic finales on illusions, only real heroes. So right now, Sand King is definitely a counter to, say, Phantom Lancer, basically illusion heroes, right? Because with your Ag Scepter anyway, you Brutal Strike and it does massive amounts of damage, and it's actually quite insane because caustic finale is quite strong actually. So this is definitely a nerf to that kind of counter strat. I'm not sure if people thought Sand King was OP, but definitely not a full counter anymore, right? You can still do Caustic Finale manually, but nobody wants to do that, right? Serpent Wards. So this is really cool. With an Ags, Serpent Wards now have split shot, attacking 2 units for full damage. So I think they actually wanted to... It's basically like doubling the amount of wards without doubling the actual amount of physical wards, right? So... I think that's pretty good. Instead of like having the cooldown lessen and having more wards, like you don't want to create clutter, but you also want to create like more strength. So I think that's cool. Honestly, I didn't even realize that Mass Serpent Wards dealt damage in an AoE. Like, so I don't know. I guess it's a kind of small AoE. I'm also a noob. Scepter reworked. So instead of having Scarith Mage's ult, just kind of the Mystic Flare used to just fall down for like 10 seconds or something, 12 seconds, something stupid. So that just became like a big AoE zoning kind of thing, right? So now when you cast an ability, a different random target in 700 AoE will also be hit. So if you cast an Ancient Seal, which is silence, you also cast it on a different target with heroes prioritized. But the coolest thing is if you cast a Mystic Flare in an area, a Mystic Flare happens in like a circle, right? If you cast it in an area and there's a unit within 700 range from that area, but outside of that still circle, they will also be hit with the Mystic Finale. And that's the full Mystic Flare, right? They can't even escape that. So you hit someone. And Mystic Flare, one thing, Mystic Flare is spread over. So say you have 5 heroes in that clumped up area, right? Mystic Flare will divide the damage by 5. But now one nearby target, heroes prioritized, will get the full damage of the Mystic Flare if they're not in the Mystic Flare area. So I think actually it's kind of neat because if you want to destroy that hero, you might, if you're alone with the hero and you see them, say, in the jungle or something, you might actually want to purposefully miss them with Mystic Flare, because it'll just class Mystic Flare on that hero. Obviously, I don't know, like, I haven't played around with it. I don't know if you can, like, if you leave the 700 range, it'll go away, but definitely 700 range is still bigger than the original range of Mystic Flare. So I think that's a very neat mechanic. Or what if there's no one else nearby? You cast the Mystic Flare on that hero and they leave. Will they still get, the Ags condition, right? Where it gets solo targeted. So I'm not too sure. I'll have to play around with it a little bit with bots, but I think that's really cool. I like that instead of having it be like a zoning thing. Definitely creating more fast-paced games, is a priority for Ice Frog. Slark Scepter upgrade. So I hate Slark. I hate Ice Frog for this. Reduces ultimate cooldown from 60 to 30 as if it wasn't OP already. Causes Shadow Dance to be active in a 325 AoE, hiding allied heroes underneath it. Like, fuck you, Ice Frog. I hate this. Okay, Sniper Scepter upgraded. So added whatever. Assassinate is now a ground target spell with 400 AoE. Upon cast, it locks onto all targets on the area, and then after the channel, it hits for a 2.8 critical strike and procs headshot on the player. So I took a look at Assassinate. I think right now it does like 700 damage or something like that. Yeah, I believe it's like 700 or 800. I forgot. But basically, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna find it right now, right? Sniper Assassinate Dota 2. So it does a 2.8 critical strike, right? So right now Assassinate, it's magical, so you can actually block it with a BKB if you think you're being assassinated, and it's 650 damage, right? So if you think about it, like everyone gets magic resistance, you get a BKB, you can block it. But with a 2.8 critical strike, if you have over 230-ish, 700, yeah, it's like around 250 damage, then you actually do more damage, and it's physical. People usually also get like Daedalus on Sniper, so it'll go through armor. It's just like your pure damage, I think, will actually increase with the right items by the time you get like Scepter on Sniper, I think. But like you'll prioritize. I think it's more like, I don't know if you want to prioritize a Scepter on the Sniper though. You know what I mean? Versus getting your damage dealing items like Meowner, Daedalus, whatever, right? Maybe save it more for when you have an Alk on the team. Not sure. Obviously depends on the game, right? If you don't think single target is good, yeah, go for it. It's hard to say right now, but I think it's still more important for Sniper though to actually get those damage dealing items. Yeah, and just stay out of range and just snipe people down, right? One at a time. This is super cool that you can kill everyone in one go, potentially. This is funny. It's definitely a joke. 17% Spirit Breaker, like instead of just another 17%, even more 17%, right? So it's pretty funny. 500 show speed, just really cool shit with the level 25. All of them are actually, not all of them, but most of them are actually really cool and really OP. So I'm really excited for that. Techies is a pretty big change. To summarize, though, landmines are now proximity mines. So they actually affect an area, and then people have to be in that AoE for a little bit before it'll proc, and the whole thing, everything will get damaged inside. There's a big cooldown on putting the proximity mines down. They only have 1 HP, and so they can be hit. And when you walk into the AoE, the proximity mines will reveal themselves. But the thing is, you can't auto attack, so you can't like auto attack through the jungle and then hit a proximity mine. So you actually have to target it. Big cooldown, does very little damage to buildings. Proximity mines, I don't know how well it'll be yet. I think it'll be more of a maybe like zoning out kind of thing, but less of a surprise. Like you'll see it and be like, oh my god, I gotta kill it, but less of like a oh shit, I just walked. You can't even stack them anymore. You can't put proximity mine like where other proximity mines are. So I don't know, definitely a nerf, less of a surprise. Techies is cancer though. Stasis trap also no longer, like they kind of I think overall it's a buff to stasis trap because it's a root, they don't expire, whatever. But this is kind of funny because blast off is now basically like a diva alt. So definitely they drew, you can see a lot of inspiration from different games here. So blast off, it'll launch your techies into an area and then basically do suicide squad attack. Except in this case, it only does 50% of your max HP. So if you're over 50% health, you're good. You're gonna live. That's really good. So no longer you have to buy like Shadow Blade, go and explode yourself. I think this just makes techies a little bit more versatile, more playable, and less of like a cancer and more of like a actual hero that can be good at zoning and potentially contribute to the game. So I do like it. I'm gonna try techies because I do really like the hero, and it is very trolly. But maybe it's a more of a legit hero now. I don't know. Who knows? This is pretty crazy. Work when illusions of Templar assassin attack side blades. Just yeah, cool shit. Let's see here. Next one, big change. Crag Exterior basically only affects melee heroes. Yep. Treant Protector. Nature's Guide is now the passive ability, which is a big buff to Treant Protector, I think. So you just have to be close to trees and you'll become invisible. You can cast while invisible. Yeah, just you don't have to cast it anymore. I think you can just walk in and out of the forest. I think that's really cool. Underlord, I'm not gonna read it. It's just Underlord stuff. Added to Captain's mode. Not much of a change, just minor changes. Visage, there's quite a lot of changes, but I'm actually going to skip over Visage because I'm not too familiar with how Visage works right now. I've tried learning it. It's like quite complicated. I'm not going to play it. So I can't really give you like a good analysis of it because I don't, like, if I read it now, it's all really new to me, to be honest. Yeah. Power shot. Okay, let's see here. Maledict got buffed. So it's good to see Witch Doctor, prioritize some Maledict DPS. Reincarnation got buffed, so Wraith got buffed. And level 25 no reincarnation mana cost I think is also a pretty big buff. And this is the end. Yo baby. Zeus Scepter reworked. So this is really cool. It creates a Nimbus, which is kind of funny because Nimbus is but it's funny because Monkey King rides like a Nimbus, right? And Monkey King's Arcana actually gives him a Nimbus when he's traveling long distances. I don't know. So there's a lot of like flying clouds in this game now. But it has an AoE cast range. So you can cast it anywhere. You don't need vision. And it casts Lightning Bolt automatically on the closest enemy in 500 AoE once every 2.5 seconds. It lasts 50 seconds, which is pretty crazy. It requires 8 hits from ranged heroes to kill, 4 from melee, and 16 from non-heroes. But think about it, 2.5 seconds, 4 from melee in 500 range. Like, I don't know. Unless you're a super tanky hero, like you might just want to run away from it. I mean, it does give a gold bounty, but I think during team fights, like no one's gonna want to focus like 8 hits on the Nimbus, right? So I don't know. I don't know how well it'll work. Like to be honest, even though it's 50 seconds is a really long time, and I think the potential to feed the Nimbus is actually quite high for 100 gold. But I think it's really cool because it gives you the opportunity to kill a fleeing hero without always having to use your ult. So say someone's TPing and you want to ult the base, you can maybe create a Nimbus on their in their fountain. I don't know if their fountain might kill it, but or like maybe they're running away into the jungle and you think you can catch them. You just put a Nimbus like at the jungle exit. You know, you throw down a lightning bolt on them. So just having Zeus not always have to use his ult to catch things. And honestly, that's it for the new gameplay updates. You know, I skipped through a lot of them. I've still been talking for like an hour, like about an hour and like 15 minutes now. So, you know, really big changes happening. That's why they call it Dota 7.0. Just 3 more things. Also in this update, Slardar got reworked. The model used to look like shit. Enigma got his muscles. He's just muscular now. Viper, you know, you can see like scales on his back. It used to just look like a big blob of like flying blob. Slardar was a flying, like a slithering blob. It's just really good to see that they look like the devs care. You know, I think it's really important. Showcase improvements. This is really cool. Just for when people make videos though, they added a sky. It used to just be like nothingness, right? So they added a sky so that your videos look cool. And before, when you go into showcase mode, you actually, in the game, you're like almost the same height as the trees, right? And that's what it looked like. So now they made the trees actually ginormous during the showcase mode. And it just makes for some really cool shit, right? And as you can see, I was really into dynamic grass in the new terrain model. And I guess that was maybe a trial to see if people's machines can handle it and if there'd be like FPS drops and stuff like that. So I guess not. And now the grass will actually move as you walk through it. Wind-blown trees. Trees will also sway to wind. So just overall, like really neat little new updates. Gameplay, I think, is massively changed with the new talent trees. Pre-game, you know, massively changed how you can strategize. I really like all of it. I'm really excited for the future of Dota 2, and I'm really glad you guys all tuned in. Thank you very much for watching. And I don't know how many of you stayed with me for like an hour and a half now, but I really appreciate you tuning into my stream. Thank you very much and have a good night.